And welcome everybody to Live at the Hive episode 224, Digital Marketing from the Trenches. I'm Dan Nedelko.
I'm Yvonne.
I'm Brandon.
And today we are talking about promoting live, hybrid, and virtual events efficiently in a noisy social world. There we go. So we'll just wait for the teeming masses to stream in here. And while you're at it, folks, if you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Twitch, or YouTube, feel free to drop a like, a follow, a subscribe. And if you've got any questions, we always welcome the lurkers that may have questions. If you're not catching this live and you are watching this after the fact, we do monitor the comments. So you can also feel free to leave some questions there, and we will do our best, as always, to help you out. Welcome, Brandon. Welcome, Yvonne.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. It looks like you moved.
Yeah. It was just recently. Yeah, I found a nice little apartment.
It's a fancy setup you got.
Very nice, very nice. For everybody that's listening on the podcast. And we did, by the way, so far this month, we've had a record podcast month, doubling our listeners. So thank you, everybody, for that.
Nice.
I hope I didn't hit the voice changer. Did I hit the voice changer and now I sound weird?
Nope, you're good.
You're good.
I'm good. Okay, good. Okay. All right. So yes, let's dive right into it. Hello, Stacy. Hello, April. Hello, Yagna. Invite your friends, invite your family, invite your dog, invite your grandma to join in on this one. So
there is an echo though. I don't know if it's coming from you, but it is definitely an echo.
Is there an echo?
I think. Oh yeah, you're echoing. Yeah.
I am.
Yeah. Oh yes, you are.
Okay. So it wasn't a voice changer, but it was a voice echo.
Something's going on here. Hold on one second. Okay. Oh yeah, I would be echoing, wouldn't I? Because I have the echo on.
Some more emphasis on this week's live.
There we go. Is that any better?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. Those pesky voice changers and Streamlabs. I pushed the applause button and I got like my fat fingers hit both buttons at the same time. So anyhow, we are good. Okay, is the echo gone?
Oh.
There we go. All right, so my echo voice changer is off and we are back on track here. So, as we all know, over the last couple of years, all the events have been virtual events, and there's been a lot of virtual events that have been happening, all around. As we were on lockdowns, there really was nowhere for us to go. So, even Zoom, which is effectively a meeting platform, more so than a webinar platform, we saw a deluge, an absolute massive increase in the number of virtual events, the use of webinars, people connecting in various different ways across all of these platforms. And what that's done now, where we are today, is as live is coming back, a lot of businesses are actually turning to hybrid events where, you've got this live component, but we're also doing this virtual component at the same time. Right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And so what the end sum result is that it's a much noisier world for these types of events. Like people can be booked into a lot of different webinars, for example, and events, and just getting the attention of an audience is increasingly difficult.
For sure.
Yes. So today what we are going to be talking about is effectively, oh, hello, Hillary, welcome. Nice to see you again, old friend. All right. So today, like I said, what we're going to talk about are effective strategies that we've used over the years, at least well over 100 times, easily. And there's really two sides to the coin. But why don't we just dive in here? Mm-hmm. And I get my screen share set up because I'm not prepared today because it's been a bonkers week.
That it has.
That it indeed has. But this is good. Oh, get me out of there. There we go. All right. So when we're talking about promoting these, we are going to talk about our See, Think, Do, Care strategy. Yvonne, do you want to walk us through our little roadmap on the right-hand side there?
Yeah, for sure. So being able to effectively, promote your events, and you want to make sure that it is successful, and there's not just, just putting it out there and hoping for the best, because it's not going to work that way. So we were going to give a nice strategy to how it would go. So to begin, we have the social media boost. So when you start it, you always want to start with your social media, which is your boosting strategy. So we'll be going over the See, Think, Do, Care and how that would work. And then we'll be going over some of the timeline of the event and the strategy that you would put it through. So you have 4 to 6 weeks before the event would happen. That's your social strategy. Then you've got the 1 week before the event. So the follow up. So you're following up, making sure that, because in those 4 to 6 weeks, most likely somebody might forget. So you always want to make sure that you're continuing to follow up with that. And then a post-event follow-up. So even when it's done, you want to make sure you're following up with them even then. And then further nurturing through channels. So once your event is done, you want to make sure you continue to nurture those leads. So we'll be going through all of that.
Awesome. Well stated. There we go. All right. So before we dive into everything, let's talk about the two sides to the promotional coin, because that's really what we're getting at here. And so where we've landed, even say 3-4 years ago, we would always use social because we're big believers in it, obviously. But there's two sides to this coin: a promotion via social media, and fundamentally we're using content, not ads, at the top level. And we'll get into the mechanics of that. And then on the other side of the coin, so you've got your public audience. We're going to also talk about loading up your audiences within, let's use LinkedIn as the example just for fun, but Facebook is extremely effective at reaching people for an omni-channel approach. We're going to create that social video content. And then what we're going to do is we're going to target it to our existing leads by creating a custom audience on the platform, and also create an email nurturing sequence. So our existing customers, leads, and prospects are seeing us really from an omni-channel approach. That awareness kind of doubles and then triples. And you're not just saying, hey, come and join my event. Hey, come and join my event. You want to give value to your event. And we're going to also get into that as well. So a real big theme here is the two sides of the coin, combining social with email to create omni-channel engagement. It's a bit of a mouthful, eh?
It really is. Yeah.
It's important to know, right? Like there's a lot of people that, there's social versus email, but they work hand in hand, right? We want to make sure that you're using them together, because they can work super effectively together if you have the right strategy, which we'll go over.
You definitely bring in two different cultures.
For sure. And again, I think one of the big things that we really talk about, and you'll hear a lot of marketers talk about this, is the omni-channel approach, right? Where, as an example, quite typically businesses will send these emails during the day. That's not a great strategy, because especially if you're in B2B, what's going to happen is your leads and prospects are going to be busy during their workday, right? They may see it, they may acknowledge it, but it probably won't sink in, and it probably won't, you won't get the registration or the reaction that you're looking for from all the hard work you're doing, right? Mm-hmm. So just a couple of quick tips is look for off times. And quite typically, so business professionals will typically prep on a Sunday night after supper, for example, getting ready for their work week earlier in the morning. Find those ideal off times and test those ideal off times, especially for your emails as well. Then the second part of it is, and this is where this conversation comes up, Brandon, Yvonne, I know you've both had this conversation with our clients. Why would Facebook be effective, right? Like that question comes up and they'll say, well, right, my audience isn't on Facebook. They have, I think the last stat I saw was 290 million people in Canada and the US are active on Facebook. That's a lot of people, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. and they're not necessarily working, right? Like that's the thing. They're talking to their grandma, they're, they're doing whatever whatever else they might be doing on that social network. But it's an ideal place to get additional awareness of your event outside of just the email inbox, right? So go ahead, Yvonne.
No, I was going to say, we do have a lot of clients who are like, well, why would we boost on Facebook? That doesn't make any sense. But honestly, we've had a lot of success with boosting on Facebook. We get a lot of reach. We get a lot of leads through it. And so we just have to explain to them, like, this is actually a really good step. Like we're experts here. We know that the Facebook is the definite route. But yeah, there's a lot of hesitation when it comes to that.
Yeah, for sure.
To add on to Yvonne's bit, actually with Facebook too, is there are some clients where they do much better on Facebook as opposed to LinkedIn. It all depends on the audience.
That's an excellent point. One other point now that we're moving into the social side. So you want to have an omnipresent approach. You want to not just say, hey, well, I sent out my email, so I'm done. Or I made a post on our LinkedIn page and we didn't boost it. You want to think omnichannel, where your leads would be looking. So YouTube, Facebook, right? Get crazy, TikTok. The fastest growing demographic on TikTok is 45 to 55-year-olds, right? And so it's relevant. It's definitely relevant. Oh, Yvonne, you just disappeared.
Was I even here?
Yeah. So let's dive into this See, Think, Do, Care framework. So first step is think omnichannel, think an approach where your leads will not be working, but where they'll be playing and interacting, because you get that second, third, fourth touch and they start to remember that this event is happening. On the content side of it, you want to use nuggets of useful content, right? And by that, I mean something very specific, something very valuable, and give a little bit of a teaser as to what they can find. So rather than saying, and I'll turn off the slide visual for everybody watching on the stream for a second. But for example, instead of saying, join our webinar next Thursday at 2 p.m. to learn how you can maximize your financial portfolio, right? It's very vague. It's very broad. What does that actually mean? And the other part of that, so what you would say as an example would be, join our webinar next Thursday at 3 p.m. to learn how to maximize a TFSA, tax-free savings account, using ETF funds for people between 55 and 65 approaching retirement. Boom, there, right? And we'll show you exactly. And then your content should talk about some of those benefits, right?
Yeah, definitely adding that specificity, right? That definitely helps, because then people can understand, and then, which we'll talk about later, is those pain points, like why should they care? And and then you want to hit them with those things that are like, oh, you know what? If I don't invest and don't do this, this could potentially happen. You want to give them that little bit of fear to be like, okay, maybe I really need to get going on this.
It's like a real sense of urgency.
Yep. And convey the value in your content. Pippa's got a great one here. With Facebook, when a friend or family RSVPs to an event, I see it too in my feed. A great way to promote the event through modern word of mouth. Absolutely. And depending on the platform, a lot of platforms will integrate with the Facebook events that you can then promote and then post content to the event as well. Yeah, and it's got quite a few different features you can take advantage of. All right. Let's dive into See, Think, Do, Care fairly quickly, because we have shown this visual many, many times, because it's part of our core promotional strategy. What this rides on are a couple of things. Number one, from your leads list that you have, whether it's ActiveCampaign, HubSpot, whatever it might be, you're going to pull out your leads, export the email addresses only, and load them onto Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Google. They all act in the exact same way. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a custom audience for you. And in that custom audience, you can actually promote content only to the people that are extremely relevant to, obviously that's your audience, right? So it's going to perform a match. Don't do it an hour before, because it does take a few days to build those audiences. And then what we're going to do here on the very top right or left is the C audience. And we're going to create social videos. They're going to be engaging. They're going to be punchy, get a hook in the first 5 seconds, show value. You could even go so far as to do a 20-second video. You could do a text-based video that talks about 3 major points, something that's going to get their attention. And as soon as they engage with that, they get put into a second audience here of engagement, right? And what that allows you to do is to then further refine that funnel down the point to which you do have an ad running, which would be the third step, which is the do, which is register now. Okay. Kind of, it's a bit of a mouthful, I suppose. A little bit, but that's the overall structure. And that's a repeatable structure that as you get used to doing this and applying it, what ends up happening is your audiences will get bigger and bigger. And then you can create what's called a lookalike audience, which then expands the reach to people that are similar to your core custom audience. Okay. Very, very important that, that we look at that side of promoting, right? Yeah. So at that point, when you have 2 options, you can go directly for the webinar registration. Okay. You're going to get fewer of those at this stage, or you could provide a lead gen form, which will get you more leads, but they haven't registered yet. It could be an overview or some of the top takeaways to give them a teaser into that webinar or that event, right? And once you've got them there, now you would have your own audience already in your Active Campaign, in your HubSpot, in your Marketo, whatever it might be. And then we get into this promotional email marketing plan. So it applies to 2 things: leads you generate on social and leads that you already have in your database, right? Okay, so this looks a little scary. It looks a little scary. It's actually a lot simpler because it's really composed of a few emails in here and some automations. And Yvonne, I believe you've set up several of these automations. You do quite a bit of Active Campaign work.
Yeah, for sure. So we always start with that. What we have here is that intro offer, right? We want to make sure that we're offering something, and you've already by this point should know kind of what your audience is looking for. So that intro offer is going to get, get them going. And if once that we have that segmented, right? We have them either registered. I think I'm gone now.
Oh, no, you're still there.
Oh, am I still there? Sorry, I was gone on my screen. I was like, oh no. So once we have them, we can either if we have segmented into registered, and then if they've either clicked it, opened it, or did not open, we then have another. So this is when we're like, okay, maybe if this wasn't enough, let's show them what that pain point, that solution to the hook was, and that's when we send that other email. So these are just like forwarding right back. So if this works, and then they do want to register, that maybe this is a great point, they'll come right back into the flow of it again. So it's just like, even though it seems very intimidating, it is the same email, but you're just trying to get them through. So it'll come right back into the swing of things. So when you have the registered, and then the thank you email will be sent to them. But going back, if the pain point, if that solution wasn't enough in those people, you can maybe do another one, maybe dig a little bit deeper and get them to be like, okay, maybe if that didn't work, like here's another little bit more of an example that would actually really affect them, and then continue. And if by then they're not really feeling it, and then this may not be worked, you can always segment them to something else, try another way, but it doesn't mean they're gone. If they're still there, they're still a cool delete. I'm just
yeah. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, a couple of points about this at point 1, 2, and point 3. What's really important here, and oftentimes, it's join our webinar this date, time. You definitely want all that information there, but lead with that nugget of information they're going to walk away that makes your event or your webinar unique to your audience, right? So what are the top 3 things that you're going to take away from this that's super valuable, right? Maybe I've got a professional speaker, right, that's coming on to an event that's going to talk about 4 ways to engage an audience, or a thought leader in your category that would really influence somebody in the investment community if you're in the finance side, that kind of thing. But you definitely want to be leading with that content, creating these segments down this line. And by the time you get down to the bottom here, right, is, hey, you know what? We've segmented them. Few things we know, right? Who has shown interest and registered, and who has potentially shown interest and not registered, which would be the opens and clicks but did not register, right? So you continually funnel down this line here. And by the time you get to the end point, we're going to talk about this, effectively in this flow, you want something for everybody, right? In this case, this would be, hey, you know what? Thanks for, well, not thanks for not attending, but sorry we missed you, right?
Mhm.
So this goes for 2 segments within that larger group. The first segment is, hey, thanks for registering, but you didn't make it. Like, things come up, that happens. We often see, 60 to 65% actual attendance rate to those events. Obviously, live events are usually higher because there's a fee with them. But within that funnel, that's not unusual to see that. This helps it because you're qualifying people further down a funnel, right? Another thing to note here that's pretty important is on the side here of thank you, or if you're on any of the visual mediums that we were streaming on, once there's a thank you, it's not just toss it in your calendar and set it and forget it. Take a couple of valuable points to get people excited for the webinar, right? And again, if these are your hooks that you want to get them into the webinar. Now you can modify this and you can loosen it up and make it not as aggressive. It depends. I think Brandon, you mentioned this. It really depends on your audience, right? And it depends on their own barometer for what becomes annoying, right? So you can test that out a little bit.
Yeah, there are usually people, like after the first promotion of their event, they'll usually stop right there, which is obviously not what you want to do. You want to keep nurturing that foundation and keep it going. So it's just you want to get those newfound leads. So by continuing to nurture, you can get new leads and you can have your returning people as well.
Absolutely. All right, so social lead engagement nurturing. So we had just talked about this, but get your leads in there, upload them, and create those custom audiences. And it's amazing. And Yvonne and Brandon, I think both of you have become quite used to tools like wave.video, for example, or wave.co for audiograms. It's shockingly easy to create great content from all sorts of different types of content.
Yeah, 100%. This is a great tool because this is great for pulling pieces. Like, say you're about the webinar, you're going to pull pieces that are going to get like that nugget style content that people want to listen to, get them something that is really going to entice them. And this is where you can put that in these social videos and really get their attention. And this is where you can start to see what people are thinking and what they want to do, and what and get the engagement that you need, and see kind of what people are feeling, and it'll really definitely help.
Yeah, for sure. So even if I play this, I'm just going to mute it on my side. And it's okay that you can't hear this audio coming through. But this is what's called an audiogram. So you could actually record a thought leader in your business. This could be someone attending your event. It could be someone that's been from a previous webinar, or any variety of things. These types of content are extremely engaging on social. And because, like, for example, this one here is only 28 seconds, it's highly snackable content, right? So there's a few keys here, because every once in a while, have conversations with people and they say, well, yeah, we made a bunch of posts and on LinkedIn, and it didn't really move the needle. It didn't do anything. I think the important thing here is the nuance, right? It's kind of like talking about a YouTube thumbnail, right? That can make or break people engaging with a video on YouTube, or that first 5-second hook can make all the difference in the world. Another one would be, really working hard on an email subject line can make the difference between a 60% open rate and a 10% open rate, right? So you've got these options, and you have to really think about the nuance, and you need to give it some time. Like, 4 to 6 weeks is a good time to be promoting an event. It's the right amount of time for you to speak to the event, to talk about the benefits, talk about everything that you want to achieve by attending this event, right? Yeah.
Even to add on to that, if you have long form video content, I was just doing this before we started live. You can take that long form video content and break it up into parts and have that over Instagram Reels or TikTok, and have it throw a calendar and just have it as constant content that people can view.
Yes, sir. as the angels singing from on high for that comment. That's an excellent point that I did overlook as well. Is don't just think about the news feed and LinkedIn. LinkedIn video, and I've actually been doing some tests with Instagram Reels and with TikToks and Instagram native video, has a huge amount of additional organic reach to it as opposed to just a straight up post, right? And what you want to be able to do is, leverage those different new channels like Reels, LinkedIn video, et cetera, and chop that up. Add add the equalizer to it. Add the stickers to it, and jazz it up a bit.
And I think adding that personality, the example we showed here, the person talking, that's the person that's going to be in the webinar and discussing it too. So you've already personalized, and I think it's huge to be personalizing your content right away, just to get that. And you're already like creating that bond with them as well, so they know who you are. You're talking to them like a one-on-one, and I think it's huge, especially when it comes to emails too. And the email content being personal is amazing. I've seen a lot of emails that are just very generic, and then there's some that are just out there that are very I'm getting lost in the word, very casual. The word's casual. It's very casual, and then it gets your attention a lot better, like, hey, how you doing? And things like really easy, simple things that you're just like, that you wouldn't see in an email, but it catches your eye first. So I think beyond anything, it's personalization is just huge.
Yeah, personalization is absolutely massive, especially if you use a platform like Active Campaign, where you have different interests and segments, which you hopefully have set up so you can understand what particular part of your business someone might be interested in. So moving right along, we are extremely efficient these days with our time. It's good to see.
Yeah.
In and out, the way I like it.
Oh dear. All right, moving right along. So Yvonne, do you want to run over the 1 week before the event for your lead nurturers?
Yeah, so of course, this is where you want to offer those something maybe exclusive. Maybe these are with people that either haven't or have. So like I guess we would focus, maybe we could always separate them to you of the people who haven't or who have, but you always want to offer something new, maybe something that you're going to be discussing here. Like people that actually do attend the event, they get these credits, and that's a huge thing for a lot of people. So they want to attend and actually listen and stay through, right? So you want to really show off what your event is going to be, the best part of it, and then giving all the details and giving a little bit more about it. And again, you're reminding these people, because again, like you said, people are getting bombarded with emails all the time. Most likely you're going to forget, and in 6 weeks that's not going to be in your mind anymore, and those reminders are very great. And then you want to still continue with the social media incentives. It's really great to continue promoting it like that. And then even accepting those on-day registrations, like always, you don't want to turn away anybody. Always just accept everybody. It doesn't matter when they did it or right into the last minute. Just say, hey, come on in. I think that's honestly great too. And then just offering that value to people who've already registered. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, in terms of incentivizing, I think be creative. So if you've got a thought leader that's a speaker or your main guest, for example, or you have a panel, offer a 15-minute one-on-one session after the webinar, to 3 lucky people, for example, or do 3 5-minute one-on-ones where you get to ask a question directly of your audience. These are incentives that are high perceived value, and high perceived value is always better than some kind of any kind of a discount or whatever, because that perceived value leads to the why of that individual wanting to be a part of the event, right? And to actually show up and attend that event.
It's an absolute win for both parties, which is good.
Yes, 100%. All right. So post events, one of the things that you want to look at is obviously asking for event feedback, getting that and creating that. I mean, we can do a whole series of lives on how to create an engaging online or hybrid event using things like polls, pattern interrupts, breakout sessions, all sorts of little things that can keep people engaged. But really in this context here is send a roundup summary email to people that couldn't make it. offer that on-demand experience. And then the last one, and this leads to what Brandon had mentioned before, is like create a highlight reel, right? Think of like TSN or ESPN, right? So maybe you're not watching the whole baseball game, but you just want to see the home runs and you want to do it in 30 or 40 seconds or less. Yeah, the end sum result of what that's going to lead you to is a much more engaged audience for the next series of webinars and events that you are presenting. So it becomes this kind of living, breathing thing, as opposed to, hey, join us, I got a whole bunch of stuff to tell you, and off you go.
No, I think that's a great thing, because a lot of people, obviously, they don't always have time, and having that replay is also a great thing. Having the option for them to watch it again is always perfect, because again, things do come up in real life. You're not going to always have everybody attend, and some people do want to go, but maybe they weren't able to in that moment. So always, and then again, it's bringing back that always keep nurturing and never stop. So just because it ended doesn't mean that's where you end with them. So you remember to keep going.
Yeah, for sure. And right, don't give up on them, and don't not email them. You can, from this type of stage in this promotional funnel where you're getting that engagement, is after you've done a few of these, if you do have leads that have never opened a single thing, that's where you can start to segment them out and either offer something different, or, and this is something very important in terms of lead and database management, is don't just leave everybody in your database, right? Just like for the sheer sake of having 22,000 leads, but you get engagement from only 800. You should be creating and pruning, just like you would prune a bush or get a haircut, right? Otherwise, you're going to look like a crazy person sending out and getting a 0.01% open rate. Stacy's saying, great point, Yvonne.
Well, how dare you use my last name? That's
all right. So, lastly, continue to nurture post event, right? And this one here is more of an e-commerce funnel, but the same thing applies. Don't just consider brand awareness, engagements, consider all of those things as a marathon and not a sprint. So you can devote a certain amount of money to keeping your custom audiences on social engaged with fresh content. You're still showing value, and it reduces the amount of there's a certain amount of friction with hammering people's email inboxes, right? And at a certain point, you become white noise, right? And as people move you, and especially with Gmail, for example, which is not the only one, but it's a huge one. And I think Outlook now has the focused inbox. Oftentimes people may never see your emails at all. Yeah, which leads me to one final point before we wrap it up, even slightly early, but that's okay. It's actually going to be spring here in Ontario, which is kind of nice this weekend. Just as a sidebar.
I feel like it's a roulette every single day, whether we're going to get winter, spring, summer, or fall. We don't know.
It has different plans.
It is a roulette wheel. I did tell my kids, just as a complete sidebar to this, that if you ever want to get a job where it's okay to be completely wrong, you could be a meteorologist.
Oh yeah.
If you're completely wrong in every other profession, you probably get fired. But in this one, that's okay.
It's a good outlook.
Yeah, exactly. So what was the thing I was going to talk about there? Dang it. Now I lost it. Must not have been that important.
Now we'll never know the final point.
Yeah, the final, it's really came at the worst possible time when I went down a rabbit hole. I'm going to remember as soon as we turn off here.
It's going to come up in the next live.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say about what we were talking about before. So you having all those posts and you want to continue to nurture these people. And if your event didn't go necessarily as great, you're always learning from it. You're going to get which is what you can then do. So when you have another event down the way and you've been continuing to nurture these people, you can then try again. You've already experimented. I mean, you can't not try, right? You have to try it anyway. So you might as well learn from your mistakes or learn from that and continue to go. Eventually you'll get there if you keep trying.
Yeah. And a few tips here, just in terms of, webinars and even hybrid events, because what we're really seeing is like a lot of events are going hybrid. And it's a great way to add diversification to, you have a live event, you're going to have a limited number of people, whether it's 30, whether it's 100, whether it's 2,000, doesn't matter what size it is. There's always going to be a significantly larger group of people that will be able to attend virtually and with the comfort levels. So you definitely want to include that in your mix. But look at these events as a program, right? You may have one crown jewel at a certain point of the year that may be your big conference, or it could be the large event. You may have several of those, but then over a period of time, you should be running these webinars consistently. It effectively trains your audience and your customers to have an expectation of something, right? In a lot of ways, the same thing we try to do here with Live at the Hive, which is a set, standard expectation. And we've had lots of feedback that the vast majority, we're well over 140,000 views total on these videos, which is great for us. But the majority of it is not live. The majority of it happens on demand whenever they want and when someone is motivated, and we're findable there. So this is this same thing goes for your events and the content you create from those events.
To add on to even people who attend your streams, because they're not sure if they want to attend live, if they like what they see, that might give them incentive to join live next time or be in person next time.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Show that value, get that FOMO, right? You want fear of missing out. 100%. All right, guys. Well, that is, so thank you, Yvonne. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, everybody that's out in the great wide interwebs. That's a wrap on episode 224 of Live at the Hive, Digital Marketing from the Trenches. We will see you next week. Same B time, same B channel. Peace.
No, that's bad.